Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and today Eitan and I are here to share with everyone the real danger in judging. And as we mentioned last week, we're beginning the month of Virgo as we speak. And the month of Virgo serves a very specific and unique purpose for those of us on a spiritual journey. It's not a coincidence that this week's energy is coming to us from the biblical portion of Shoftim, which is also connected to the danger in judging. But I think the first place to start off with is the realization that if you know a Virgo, you know that their tendency can be, they have a good critical eye. They can sometimes be a little harsh with their criticisms and their commentary, but there is a gift that comes with the sign of Virgo that we all want to borrow this month and make sure not to use for harsh judgment and criticism, but rather for deep reflection and introspection. So we're going to talk about this week's unique opportunity as well as this month's gift. And we'll see through the rest of the episodes this month how we're given continuous support and strength to do the unique work of the month of Virgo so that we can transform the coming year to be one of blessings beyond belief. Weekly Energy Boost is a 7-day spiritual weather forecast where we provide our listeners with the most practical and powerful tools to navigate the coming 7 days through the teachings and tools of Kabbalah. And every week ends up offering not only the best practices and outlooks for the coming week, but the episode will reveal to you tools and wisdom you can use any week of your life. And because we have this unique combination of the energy of Shoftim together with the new moon of Virgo, we always talk about how it's best to make your own individual effort to be the most elevated version of yourself on the new moon, because the new moon is the seed of the month to come. The next 30 days, the imprint of your thoughts, words, and actions today affect every day of the month. So it's especially important to be in an elevated state. However, when the challenges come up this month, they serve a specific purpose, and we're going to talk about that as well. So Eitan, how do you want to start this conversation today so we make sure to capture all the opportunities that we can look forward to?
Yes, I think let's start talking about the gift of this month of Elul, the month of Virgo, the 30 days, which starting actually today, prior to Rosh Hashanah. Actually started yesterday, today, this 48 hours actually is the new moon of the month of Virgo. So we know that in Rosh Hashanah, which this year falls in September 22nd in the evening, it's the time that there's a great opportunity to download the new, improved, and upgraded me, consciousness-wise, and how my life will look in the next year. Because remember, true excitement, true inspiration in our life is felt when we accessing greater part of our potential. And the best, most elevated time to be able to download literally new cassette of how my life will be out first, how I will conduct myself, consciousness, action, and then how my reality will be in Rosh Hashanah. And 30 days before Rosh Hashanah, in the month of Virgo, in the month of Elul, it is the most profound time to reflect. It's the most profound time to see clearly what I need to change, to improve, not from being judgmental over myself, the opposite, being excited about what's possible. And I would like to upgrade my limited program. The light is unlimited. As long as my program is limited, limited light will come. So the Kabbalah is saying that it's important every night before going to sleep to reflect of the mistake of the day and what we need to change tomorrow. But what's so unique about this month of Elul? It says the month of Elul, while we all throughout the year in our life pretty confused, what's right, what's wrong, did I do it right, did I do it wrong, we all blind to a degree. But it says the month of Elul, the month of Et Ratzon, days of desire, days of goodwill, those who have a true desire to search for the truth. Where am I aligned with my true soul and my true potential, and where I am not? Those who have a true desire and spending every day of this month, you'll get clarity. Wow. This behavior blocking me, this investment in my mind of what people think of me, blocking me and limiting me. So there's assistance from the universe, sense of clarity, because it says that our perfected self is shining to us in this month. So imagine our true self, our ultimate potential is shining, then you can see easier, only for those who crave it, what you need to improve, what we need to change. So that's number one. Soon, we'll speak about the dangers of judgment, but beforehand, Elisheva, let's maybe speak about 4 categories of reflections that it's good for us, because sometimes we say, what do I need to change? So let's speak about 4 categories that in the ancient writing, they gave it names: idol worshipping, bloodshed, adulteries, and evil tongue. But let's break it down for practical awareness, that I would every day take these 4 categories and think about one thing I need to improve, and sometimes focus on the same one thing of each one of these categories. And open yourself to see. You don't have to do much besides seeing and awakening true desire for elevation and for growth. Now, what's interesting about this month, you might be tested in those areas that you recognize you need to improve, only because the universe wants really to help you the process of cleansing. The whole month of Elul, we need to have a clear understanding and seeing what I need to improve and awakening deep desire. Then in Rosh Hashanah, I can cleanse the old me and download the new me. So start, Elisheva, 1 category at a time. What does it mean for us? Let's think about the 4 categories.
So idol worship, which again, like you said, is a code for that the ancient Kabbalists used to describe this category of disconnection. Because what are we really talking about cleansing? All throughout the past year, we had these moments of disconnection when we engaged in these 4 kinds of negativity. So idol worship is anytime we allow something outside of us to control us, right? It's not about bowing down to people or scenarios or idols for that matter. It's when I let other people's approval or acceptance of me change how I behave, how I think, how I speak, how I feel. When I let social media or my parents or the government or anything, even, I could be a slave to my job. And because I'm a slave to my job, it changes who I am. I'm not present with my family when I'm with my family, or I'm so busy comparing myself, how much money I'm making versus how much money they're making, or looking around me to measure myself, compare myself, and to give myself the validation. Those are all forms of what we call idol worship. Now, what's the real problem with it? There is only one source of blessing, of goodness, of you can even call it validation and approval, and that's the light of the creator. So when you look to something external, the family, the friends, the boss, the fashion world, whatever it is, and you wait for something outside of yourself to make you feel this way or that, you're unplugging yourself from the true source, and depending, your energy then depends on other people. Now, maybe consciously we can all say, well, I would never want anyone else to control how I feel or how I behave or how I think, but we do it all the time. And when we do it, it usually is at the expense of our values, of our core beliefs, right? In a way, we're also betraying ourselves by putting those other people or situations in control of us. And maybe afterwards we can feel it, but in the moment, it seems for whatever reason important, necessary, even essential, like it's a survival mechanism to receive the validation and the approval we're seeking. But part of what we want to understand today and activate during this month is that any time I find myself allowing external people or circumstances to change me, to make me feel this way or that, to remember, rather than, okay, I heard on the podcast this week, I shouldn't be doing that. It's not about judging yourself or being harsh on yourself or saying, I didn't learn or I didn't get it yet. Every time you find yourself worshiping an external source of energy this month, use it instead as a reminder. Wait, I've been in this position before. I let what my coworkers think about me or say about me, or I let my paycheck determine my self-worth. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to make my self-worth or how I feel about my value dependent on anything other than my connection to my soul and the light of the creator. So I think part of the work, Eitan, as we examine these areas, is also to remember that the month of Virgo is set up to show us where we stepped off the path this year. Like I sometimes imagine it like a time tunnel. That if this month I find myself in a difficult situation, the purpose of it is not the drama or the chaos that is in front of me right now. It's to remind me all of those moments of disconnect that I allowed to take place because I was worshiping an external source of energy throughout the past year. And if I can gather that awareness, the recognition, I have the opportunity to heal it. And like you said, to really upgrade, right? Maybe it might happen this year and it might not happen this year. But in the month of Virgo, if I can bring it into my awareness deeply enough, I can completely write it out of the movie script that's being developed for the coming year. So I think that's maybe the most, from the four categories, to me, it's the most obvious and easy to identify. I think the other three categories are a little bit more subtle. And actually, before we move on to the second category, another version of idol worship that I think is a little bit more insidious, it doesn't feel like it's an external force that we're worshiping, is whenever we fall into anger, arrogance, power struggle, needing to control or manipulate situations and scenarios. Because what are we saying? The light of the creator isn't here. The light of the creator isn't in charge. This needs to be controlled. I need to dominate it. I need to protect or defend myself. There's no God here. And again, think about what kind of message that broadcasts to the universe when we do that. We're literally taking ourselves out of that bubble of light that we work so hard to create for ourselves, and we disconnect ourselves. It's like we're saying we don't need the guidance, the protection, the connection from the light of the creator. I'm taking care of it. I'm the powerful being in the universe. And so again, thinking about when those moments take place during the month, how can I take stock, take inventory, become more aware of the times in the past, my tendencies, even the triggers? What is it that causes me to feel like I need to show who's in control or who's powerful or that I'm smarter or that you don't understand? what are those situations that make me fall into the pattern of the anger, the arrogance, the controlling nature? And how can I transform those moments to be more aligned with my soul and with the light of the Creator? So it's all this month, it's all opportunities for us not to judge ourselves, not to beat ourselves up, not to be disappointed or feel like we failed, but rather to continue to take inventory. Wow, that's something that I do often, if I'm honest with myself. Or here's another pattern that I've fallen into. Maybe in the last 3 months I've been better about it, but it's going to come up again this month, so that I can make sure that I am aware of it and that I make the effort to work through it, so that it's no longer a part of my movie.
Beautiful. So the next category is that it's all of us are guilty of it, if we know or not. It's called bloodshed. Bloodshed means lack of human dignity towards other people, or directly hurting other people. And we know the root of all insensitive behavior towards other people or harmful behavior towards other people stems from desire to receive for oneself alone. Means we're so consumed with my needs, with my pain. And that's a test. When I'm going through my own issues or my own challenges, am I making sure I'm actually aligned with the universal law called human dignity towards every human being? So reflecting, where wasn't I sensitive? Where wasn't I as giving as I could be? Where I did hurt other people? Where could I improve in being more compassionate? So in thoughts, in words, in action, we'll have a whole category of words, but in actions, in energies, because at the end of the day, the worst short circuit that all of us would love to cleanse and to repair is between us and other people. I can be spiritual all day long. I can meditate all day long. I say, trust the light of the Creator. How am I conducting myself with other people? That's one of the biggest tests. And not just strangers. Sometimes for some people, tikkun is looking in your own house. How do you treat your spouse? How do you treat your kids? How do you treat your relative? You might take them for granted. And it's not just negativity that you are dealing with, is sometimes lack of enough proactive positivity. So that's the second category.
Eitan, before we go to the next category, can we talk a little bit about what it means to short circuit? Because that's a phrase that we don't usually use in our conversations.
Okay, physical short circuit, when you ending a circuitry of electricity. That's physical short circuit. Spiritual short circuit is when you are reactive, when you're judgmental, when you're negative, when you're acting with your desire to receive for oneself alone, when you indulge in idol worshipping or being controlled by anger. You get temporary energy, rush of energy, because that's what reactive indulgence gives. But then you're disconnected from the light. So that rush of energy that you're drawing to reactive behavior and selfish behavior creates short circuit, means you're disconnecting from the light. And that's need to be cleansed and elevated. And by us reflecting and recognizing, not because I just want to feel bad about what I've done and hopefully God will forgive me. No. Part of upgrading the destiny for the coming year is recognizing what was done wrong and committing myself for new consciousness and new behavior.
Okay, great. Because I think it's an important distinction to make, especially when it has so many meanings for people, that's really, like, I imagine it like it's something that gives a rush of energy, but then you're sitting in darkness afterwards. And our goal is to have a lasting and flowing infinite connection versus bursts of light and then darkness. So that's really important. The third category, it's a little bit complicated, but I'll do my best to summarize it adequately. The code word for it is adultery, but it's not only referring, it doesn't only refer to actual acts of adultery. It's related to anything of a physical, you used the word before, Eitan, indulgence, reactive indulgence. I love that phrase because a lot of times we allow our physical desires to interfere with our higher selves. So whether it is something sexual or something else that comes from a compulsion, like a need that we cannot control, right? When our higher self, we tell our higher self to take a break so that we can allow our lower self to have a reactive indulgence. All of those short circuits are also, it's something that we want to cleanse again, because many times our highest self is on vacation when those things happen and we're not even aware, or we don't care, right? Sometimes we do realize we're about to do something that's negative or that we're not proud of, but in the moment, our compulsion for that thing is stronger than our ability to take control of the situation. So the Kabbalists in their infinite wisdom, right, Rick wrote into the program of this month and of Rosh Hashanah to be able to cleanse even those things that perhaps those are the things that we would tell no one about. It would be the most difficult things to admit, those desires, the things that we would be most ashamed to share, that there's even a cleansing for that this month and come Rosh Hashanah.
So you're talking about can be food, can be sex, also around jealousy. That jealousy falls under these categories. When I believe that if I'll get that honor, that power, that man, that woman, that accolade, then I'll be happy. The illusion of if I'll consume that moment of pleasure, then I'll feel so much better, which is, again, major disconnection from my soul.
Right. I think the reason that they use the word adultery is because it's when I want to take something that's not mine, that it's not about betraying a partner. It's about any time I'm compelled to grab something that doesn't belong to me. So like you said, if it's jealousy or if it's actual, taking the credit or taking the person, it's all related to what I think will fulfill me isn't mine.
Beautiful. So the next category is evil tongue. The illusion around words and evil tongue, we don't see the immediate ramification of our words. Other actions, you're in front of other people, you feel the energy, you feel people, but words, you say good words, you say empowering words, you say negative words. And the Kabbalists explain that while maybe you didn't mean to harm anybody, there's a big difference between negative thoughts and negative words. Negative thoughts, you can actually take responsibility and cleanse. Negative words, when you gossip behind the back of someone, when you align, when you could communicate to help someone and you feel uncomfortable to do it. Every time you either misuse words in a negative way, or anytime you could use words to help, to empower, but for whatever the reason that it's uncomfortable, you don't. We are creating, when we do it, damage to the universe, damage to other people, damage to our environment, damage to ourselves. And it's so easy in the world of social media, in the world of, you feel such a great temporary high speaking bad about other people, to say words and to say everybody's talking. So what's the big deal? Forget about everybody. If you knew that when you continuously indulging in gossip, because it's just that is that friend that you're enjoying to have circuitry of energy with, if you knew that's blocking to download your potential, to download the ability to have amazing influence in this world that will manifest itself in your career, then you'll say, 1 second, pause. It's not what people see. It's the energy that I'm injecting. So this is an essential reflection. Time to reflect, to specific time. I didn't pass the test. Time to reflect is, am I ready to commit? Don't commit to something you're not ready to commit. But see, you know what? I'm ready to commit. I want an upgrade. I don't want to stay in the same place. Sometimes we have all the desire. I want to go to my next level. I want to upgrade. But I'm staying with the old program, the old consciousness. So there's no room for this to come. So the goal of this cleansing is not just to beat myself up. It's actually, I want new me in this coming year, in every aspect of my life. And what's special about this specific week, which is the first week of the month of Virgo, like Elisheva mentioned before, it's portion Shoftim, which is judgments. And Rabbi Isaac Luria, one of the greatest Kabbalists, shared with us, this is the week, but also for the whole month, you want to run away from judging other people. Every day of the year you want to refrain, and sometimes, we fall into the judgment, but this month especially, run away from judging other people. So now, there's a big difference between observation and judgment. Sometimes you make observation. I'm not sure I want to be the friend of that person. That's okay. You have to make decisions. What is the right friends for you, the wrong friends for you, or if your close friend or partner did something wrong. Sometimes you observe, you are discussing, but judgment is when you separate yourself from someone because you see what's wrong with them and you isolate yourself from them. So number one, Rabbi Isaac Luria tells us, when you involve in judgment, you create a curtain that blur your vision to see what you need to improve. And every time you run away from judgment and you say, you know what? I have my own tikkun, they have my own tikkun. It's not to me to dwell in judgment. And one of the indications you're in judgment, your heart getting closed. You're not in a state of appreciation. Sometimes you're observing things wrong, but your heart is open to appreciate the Creator, to appreciate life. But the fact that your heart is closed, you are focusing on what's wrong, not just about person, about life. And when that's what your consciousness is, you don't allow the blessings of this month, the clarity of change and improving to set in. When you judge someone else, you're actually judging yourself. The last thing before you will share about it, the Baal Shem Tov, one of the greatest Kabbalists, saying, every time you have someone in front of you that's doing something so annoying, that you're so eager to judge and to make them wrong, beside the fact that it's an ego trip, I already better, and you take credit for all the good things, and you think that you are the one that made yourself so great, which is an ego trip, you are actually tested. The fact that the Creator sent you someone that is doing wrong in front of you is because you might have done the same thing past lifetime, and there's an angel that wants to execute judgment and negativity in your life, sitting on top of you, And that angel will execute chaos, or which we call it cleansing, in your life only when you judge someone else. So when you judge someone else about something that you yourself might have been guilty in this lifetime or past lifetime, you activated the force of negativity, because we know growth happens either through proactive change or through some pain. So it's a trick, it's a test. Instead of looking at them, realize, the Creator sent it to me by me injecting more compassion and less judgment and having a deeper observation about myself, I can cleanse my own negativity, because we are all linked. Final words about judgment, Elisheva?
Actually, with your permission, I would love to read something that our teacher Karen Berg wrote a number of years ago related to this week's energy, that I think I would try to summarize it, but I feel like having Karen here to share these words with us would be the most not only effective, but also I think this is one of those, the energy of this week. And again, the month of Virgos tend to be very much in their heads. And to really take advantage of this week's energy and this month, we need to operate more from our hearts. And I think that's what Karen's article on this week's portion is all about. It's just a few paragraphs, and I think that's the best way to end this week's episode. So Karen says, and this is from, I think, 2016. The word shoftim, which is the name of this week's portion, means judges. And that is precisely what this week's portion is all about. Both the Torah and the Zohar discuss the subject of judges at length in what seems to be very different ways. In the biblical story, we find Moses instructing the Israelites on how to nominate and identify judges amongst themselves. In the Zohar, there is a lengthy discussion of the spiritual process after death and the gates of heaven. When the soul leaves the body, it goes through different gates, and before each one stands a judge. The Zohar reveals that these spiritual gates correspond to our own physical gates. Our eyes, our nose, our mouth, all of the senses that we use to judge others. The problem with judging is that things are rarely what they seem. We can see someone hurting others, but we don't see how badly they were once hurt. We see those who act like fools and don't stop to think how the very definition of a fool is one who knows no better. We see those who behave like clowns, but we are not aware that their motivation is simply to make someone smile. Vision does not come from our eyes. The eye itself is like a blank canvas, receiving images in black and white and upside down. Our mind then turns it around and creates the visual. What does that mean? Our mind perceives what we see, and therefore we see mostly with prejudice. Everything from what we experienced in our childhoods to what happened 2 minutes ago informs how we see and how we judge someone or something in the present moment. So how is it possible for us to see a true and clear picture? How can we start to see the essence of people and the intentions for what they really are? The truth is we can't. But what we can do is to begin to understand that we can cool the fire of our judgment with mercy. Not only is it our place to judge not only is it not our place to judge others, but one of the most merciful things we can do sometimes is to open our hearts and give others the benefit of the doubt. This is what many of the ancient Kabbalists made into a way of life. There are countless stories of sages who simply could not see negativity in others. If someone was eating with no manners, for instance, swallowing without chewing, a Kabbalist would be of the mindset he must be eating in such a hurry because he has to get somewhere quickly to help someone. No matter what these Kabbalists would see with their eyes, they would justify it with their minds and in their consciousness as an act done for the purpose of serving the light. By doing so, they kept their own hearts open, their thoughts positive, and their souls in alignment with the way of the light. For the Creator, too, makes allowances for our actions. There's an energy that exists in the universe right now that can support us in this work of becoming more merciful and less judgmental. Let us use our minds to make right side up what we might see that looks upside down. Let us use our eyes to see with mercy, not judgment. Instead of creating a movie in our minds that paints people and situations in black or white, let us apply consciousness to paint our vision with glorious color and beautiful souls bearing only positive intentions. Weekly Energy Boost is available on all podcast platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. You can follow us on those social media platforms to receive more content about what we share in each week's episode. Please visit us also at weeklyenergyboost.com, where you can read about the things we think are important for our listeners to know about. You can search through our archives, send us a message, and click the donate button to help make Weekly Energy Boost possible. But more important than all of that, share this week's episode. The more people that are taking stock, tampering their judgment with mercy, and doing the work of the month of Virgo, the better planet Earth is going to be, and you'll be a part of making that happen. And we'll see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.